Okay, bye, Mike. Oh no, he didn't actually. Okay. Okay, but okay, so he's supposed to start dialogue. That's not good. It's not good. He leave. Where the did he go if he left the party? He just disappeared. Oh, there. Oh, what the hell? That's a weird place for him to go. Okay. 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 Oh, that's okay. So they intentionally move him. Interesting. So there's already a script that moves him. Okay. So we still get Mike's thing up here first, and then we do get him. Okay, Baxter. Okay, I guess the critter beatbox is necessary. I'm gonna have Baxter. I'm not gonna. That's silly though. I don't. I really don't like the automatic spawning stuff. I really like it much more when the critters actually walk somewhere instead of just moving them. Where the? Why the hell is he over here? Okay, that's got to be a tile defined right somewhere, so I can figure out where he's being pushed. Vault tile 25. Okay, 235. Okay, let's check. That's it. 235. 2. It's not. Oh, 235. 23. Hold on. Was that it right there? 235. 23. Is that what I was looking for? 23523. Okay, it's got to be this. Okay, so this is called where? Node 995. Okay, this I don't like. That's it. That's it. If map shelter, then begin. If okay, cool. Okay, we got to move the vault tile. That's a terrible tile to be standing on. Yeah, let's put him on the bed. That sounds about right. We're gonna put him on the bed. Unless there's some alcohol around. Although, no, yeah. That's exactly what we should do. We should get him. We should have him walk up to the refrigerator, open the refrigerator, and then let's. Is there anything in the refrigerator? View inventory. No, there's no alcohol in the refrigerator. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll have him complain that there's no alcohol in the refrigerator. That's what we'll do. All right, this should be a pretty simple script. So we're gonna go ahead and set. We're gonna make a new fixed param. So I'm going to add a new define over here for the fixed params. Pound define FP. I'm going to start capitalizing my fixed params. Baxter shelter. Call it 5. There's our fixed param. And we're going to go ahead and go down here. And if fixed param, if equivalent to this, then again. So set timer event, right? Or what is it? Add timer event. I keep forgetting that because it's like unrelated to the name of the original thing. Add timer event, self object. We'll give it a time of 2 ticks, whatever. It doesn't matter. And an info of FP Baxter shelter. There we go. And then that's going to be close that out there. And then we're going to comment this out. So we're going to have them walk to the refrigerator. Okay, here we go. And then we're going to add, okay, so now we add a, we're just going to call this script like they do, make it a little bit more comfortable instead of putting all the stuff inside the fixed param. Procedure, post, alco, shelter. Call it begin. Okay, so we're going to call post elco shelter. We definitely need to change this tile, but we need to add a couple tiles here. So here, call post elco shelter. We need to forward declare that. All the way up here. There it is. There we go. Okay, where's your variable begin? Okay. Let's make this a little easier to read. So these are global variables, it looks like, and we're going to go ahead and shelter drink. We'll set it to 0. Just for fun. Shelter drink, okay. Set it to 1 initially. Okay, so we want him to, we're going to have him, if shelter drink equivalent to 0 and begin. We're going to set it to 1. Not necessarily. We're gonna. It's gonna be else. No. I mean, we need a check in here. If tile num self object equivalent to whatever the tile num is I need. So we're gonna call it. I'm gonna call it refrigerator tile. We need to add some more defines up here. So we got our vault tile. We're gonna have a pound define refrigerator tile. Okay. Let's make that a little simpler. That's a fridge tile. There we go. Now I don't have to type out all that garbage. Okay, so let's get the fridge tile. Okay, so our refrigerator is on tile 19729. Let's just put him right in front of the refrigerator, right? Instead of right in it. Well, we can try that first. 19729 or 20129. Okay, so 19729 or 19729 or and we need to put him in a different place from where he's at. So he right now moves over here when he's in this area. I don't mind putting him there. That seems like a good place for him to go. Yeah, we'll just have him wait here where it's really obvious. Let's turn the hexes on. 22926. Okay, let's try that. 26, so I don't forget. And we're just going to pound define. That's this one is what I want actually. It's going to be 22926 there. So that's the other tile. It's obviously not going to work. All right, so we got our vault tile and our fridge tile. So if tile num self object equivalent to fridge tile, then begin. We increment the shelter drink by 1. Else begin. Ooh, we need another check if not and I'm busy. Begin. Pull this into else if not and I'm busy. Begin. Pull that out. Okay. Bridge and I'm clear. Which I'm not sure if this is really necessary or not, but oh well. I really don't know any. I'm still trying to learn the animation sequence in this engine. So reg anim clear self object, reg anim begin. And then we're going to animate move to tile. Move object to tile. There we go. Self object. And we don't need tile element direction. We can explicitly say we're going to move him to the fridge tile. And is there anything else here? Oh yeah, the speed. Into object pointer who into tile into speed. Animate run, I think is what it is. Yeah, animate run. There we go. And then reg anim end. And then what's going on here? Parenthesis expected. Oh, anim busy self object. I got that. Okay, I forgot to do that in there. Oh, come on, really? Oh, then okay. Yeah, okay, cool. So we're gonna have him walk to the tile. And in all cases here, I think I actually want to add timer event. So add timer event self object game. We don't need any game ticks. We'll just give it a 10 ticks explicitly. 1 second, generally speaking. It takes about a second to run most of the animations, but it shouldn't be a big deal. It just means either way, if he gets stopped somewhere, he'll just stop for a second and then move on. And then we're going to do FP Baxter Shelter. Here we go. Right? Okay, cool. So if once he hits the fridge tile, we increment the drink counter. Else if shelter drink equivalent to 1 and begin. So we're at shelter drink 1. So we're gonna open the refrigerator here. So we're on the tile. We're gonna open the refrigerator. We need the tile num for the refrigerator's on, right? To get that in that specific item. Okay. Let's run this right now. I want to see where he's at. Because it looks like this part works. Starts this. Okay, cool. That's not. That's he just runs to it. I don't want him to run to it. Okay. Oh, if it opens up, he ends up standing behind it. Okay, that's not good. That's definitely not good. Can't do that. Okay, let's go ahead and fix that up. I don't want to rise. It should be animate walk. Duh. I'm an idiot if I didn't quite get that right. Anyway, so let's pop our fridge tile. We're going to swap it out for 21029 now. Maybe I should make him run there. I don't know. Anyway, we'll have him walk at least once and see what this looks like. Okay, so he gets there, and then so on that tile, a tile I also need. It looks like actually. So we got give another name here. Booze tile. I'll call it that for now. I don't have a good one for this, but oh well. So the booze tile is going to be that, and the fridge tile is going to be 19729. So I know where the fridge is. Apparently you can walk into the fridge, which is not really what I want. Okay, so we want to find the object on the booze tile, right? Tile get objects. Yeah, objects. What are the pop-ups for this? Come on, you. Tile num. So we got fridge tile, and then there's there was another define right there. Vault elevation, right? So vault elevation right there. And this returns an array. Oh, this is asphalt stuff. Returns true. Returns a pointer to the first object. Tile contains object PID object is what I want, I think. Then we don't need an array. Turns a tile to the first object that matches a particular PID number that's on a particular tile elevation. So what's the PID number for it? Back to the mapper. You know, let's try this. We're going to create item. No, there's a way to spawn something. Create object according to this. Create object. I got create object and create object SID. Sure should be attached, and it will be. Okay, so we're gonna give it. So we're gonna try PID 41 just in case it was index number 41 on there, but I don't know if it is or not. PID 41 tile num self object elevation vault elevation. Let's switch this from walk to run. Just so I can get it to happen as fast as possible. And then we'll set to 2. We'll increment this so it doesn't call itself multiple times. Compile. That didn't seem right. Hold on. What the fuck happened here? Oh, that shouldn't be for sure. That should be booze tile. Same thing for this. He's not moving anywhere. That's not good. Did I write the wrong tile number down? Oh man, let me leave this big a pain in the ass. 20129, right? Oh, I wrote the wrong one. Ah, okay. that makes more sense now. We can get rid of this. This no longer applies. Okay, so we should recompile that. Now we should see him running up there. That's odd. He didn't spawn a freaking thingamajig. Should, in theory, create the thing. Oh, he did create something. I see it now. He just pooped it out. What did he make there? Bottle caps. Okay. All right. Back to the mapper. Okay, bottle caps are 40. So if this is 41 and it's spawning a bottle cap, so 42 is what I need, right? So let's try 42. So he should spawn a refrigerator on his own tile, right? There it goes. Yes. Okay, cool. Okay. So now I know which tile and which item it is. So we're not creating object. We're going to take child contains object PID. Should all be back one. And this is going to be, the PID is going to be tile elevation PID. Okay, PID is going to be 42. We don't need to create it now. We're going to, what the hell? I need to store it. Okay, so hold on. Variable temp, we'll call it right now. Right? You can, okay, yeah, that does it. I just need to assign it somewhere. It's not one of those. Apparently, it's not one of those scripting languages that will allow you to dispose of the return, and without having to actually assign it to something. But you know what? It's not going to do me any good if I just do that. I need to actually look and see what the heck it is. Make sure we have an object, right? So if we have an object, we have an object pointer, right? So this is object fridge. I'll call it fridge pointer. That's really what it is. It's a pointer of sorts. So we got a fridge pointer, and we want to animate on the fridge pointer, right? So animate. How do I open a fridge? Object close. Object is open. Is it object open? Object open. Object. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Okay, object open works for me. Yeah. So object open, and we'll say fridge pointer. And we'll do that. Let's give that a compile. Load, rerun. No, damn. Okay. Now is that because object is no. Why is it null? All right, we're gonna do the array one. Jeez. I'll get X fridge tile. For each. There we go. For each blech and block. Again. Debug message. Blech. Blech. What the hell do we get here? Did we get a bunch of nulls or what? Okay, what do we get over here? We got something. Wasn't thinking about that. Just make sure we have a next line for each one so we can. Yeah, okay. Well, okay, so there is an object here. It says, can I get any information about that object? We get the object PID. Okay. Okay, well, hey, let's do that. That seems reasonable. And we're going to do object PID of bleh. So at least I will know what the heck I'm looking at. At least I'll know what object PID it is anyway. What? Oh, I did that wrong. It's decimal 3355449. 243? 43? I thought items were 0, right? So what is 2? 2 is scenery. Is that a scenery? Did I misread that? In the mapper here? So I'm just going to take a few more minutes to try and figure this out, right? It says item. It's a fucking item according to this. It's an item here. Why is that listed in scenery? Oh, am I looking at the wrong tile? Interesting. Okay, 19929. Okay. 19929. Let's try that. Do we get a thing I actually want now, or not? Should be like 42 or something. I'm not even sure where it's getting that other one from, but oh, it opened. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, that it was the wrong tile. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. It's tough to actually tell some of the tiles sometimes because it doesn't give you any actual information about the object when you look at it from that menu. Man, I'd love to. You know, I really should try and get into contributing to the new a new mapper. I know there's at least one new mapper out there I really should get into. But anyway, okay, so we got our, we can get rid of this, right? So this should say 42 now. It does say 42. No, noise. Okay, cool. We get rid of that. We got our fridge pointer. We're going to open the fridge pointer. We don't need to create an object anymore. We're, at this point, we're going to add, let's get rid of these. Yeah, we don't need that. We're going to add timer event. We're going to give it self object. And we're going to give it game ticks. So we're going to give it game ticks returns the number of seconds or number of ticks that are that are required for the number of seconds you put in here. So we're going to give him a good 2 seconds. We'll start with two seconds. We'll give him 2 seconds to look at the thing, and the timer event is going to be FP Baxter shelter right there. And else if shelter drink is equivalent to 2, and begin. You know, I'm going to make a define for this so it's not like just blindly. Now define fridge PID 42. So it's absolutely clear what I'm working with here, actually. There we go. Just to make it highlight differently, we'll give it fridge, all one giant thing like that. Okay, cool. So we'll swatch our 42s out for fridge PID. Oops. Get rid of you. And I think I need this to be a little more global. So we're going to put it at the top here. Oops. Doesn't have to be that global, but it no, it does actually, now that I think about it. Because I need to call it in the next couple of frames, not on this frame. So we'll declare this one as part of the global variables here. Get rid of that. Yeah, cool. Okay. So we've got him to open the fridge. The next thing is we're going to have a float message, self object. I'm just going to put the string message in here. We don't have to save it over here in the message file for now. String message is going to be sigh. We'll just leave it as a sigh for now. We can let the player think of what they want, and then we'll give it a type. Float. There's like float color, right? It's float color. Bad, good, high, normal. We'll give it a float color paint. I don't know what color that's going to be, but we'll find out. And then we add timer event. So we don't need to do any circle back on itself to make sure it's still running. We'll give this a good 2 more seconds. And we also have to increment shelter drink to 3. And else if shelter drink equivalent to 3. And begin. We're going to close the fridge. Object close. Fridge pointer. I think there's a couple checks I need to do here to make sure that it's not already open or something, but let's see if it throws any errors at me. It's clear there's a couple of other errors I have to clean up in the other scripts that are around here, but let's keep working on this. And then we're going to close the fridge. We're going to have him walk back, right? So I don't want it to recall closing the fridge. That's kind of silly while he's walking. So we're going to just go ahead and add timer event. We'll increment really quick. Shelter drink set to 4 and add timer event self object game. We'll give it a 2 here. Just has to be really quick. Baxter shelter 2 ticks is going to be fast enough. It's about 10 ticks a second, so 2 ticks shouldn't matter. It closes like that. And I'm going to move the add timer events to the bottom for all of these. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So then else if shelter drink equivalent to 4, then again, and we're going to do the if not, and I'm busy self object. Ugh, wrong key. Then begin reg anim clear once again. Reg anim animate. Animate move to whatever. Anim move to tile. There we go. Self object is going to be moving. Okay, what else we got here? Self object. What was the function I used up here? Move object to tile. Okay, not bad. Self object is going to be moved to tile, and what else? Tile is going to be vault tile. It should be weight tile actually, but whatever. Vault tile. Speed animate walk. It might be funny just to have him walk there and then run there and then walk back. Really? Okay, what the hell? Oh, I got a reg anim clear self object. My bad. Okay. I really need to do more of this stuff, but anyway. Reg anim animate needs something there too. Okay. Reg anim begin is what I meant, not reg anim animate. Reg anim begin. I really wondered what the difference is for these, but oh well. Reg anim end. And then if else, if he is busy, so if he's on the vault tile, if not tile num self object equivalent to vault tile, and then we can pull off this if and not and a busy self object, then we can move to the tile, right? And then at the end of this, we're going to call add timer event self object, and then we're going to give it a 10 tick here, and then FP Baxter shelter, and that's it. We're just going to have to move to that tile over and over again until he gets there. Once he's there, won't matter. I think that's right. Let's take a look. See what this animates out to. Awesome. Oh, and let's rotate him. Let's rotate him so he's facing the table. Because there was a rotation on this one already, actually. Animate rotation 3. We'll just put this in here. Else. There we go. So once he hits the tile, it just rotates into to 3, and he'll face the other direction, and we should be good. He'll face the table, I mean to say. I'm going to do that again. We're going to make him sigh as well. We're going to make him float sigh again. So he's so he's obviously sad and depressed about not having any not having a beer in the thing. Okay, here we go. Oh, it didn't. It did. Okay. Oh, okay. I need to actually separate out my logic a little bit. So we're not going to do and not here. We're going to go ahead and pull this down. It's going to be an if not here. And we're going to have an end here. And this is going to be outside of there, I think. Then begin. All right. Yeah, okay. So it'll keep calling itself. If he's not running, it'll run him. Otherwise, it'll just call itself again and again. And then once he gets there, in theory, that should force that. Theory. Maybe I have to move that around a little bit, the add timer event to some other spot. But yeah, it's so nice. All right, cool. Okay, there we go. All right, that's going to be it for the night, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be cool. Anyway, that's going to be so much more fun than just the spawning him at the spot thing that they were doing. So much more fun. So much more interesting. Also, let's do a couple tests real quick. We're going to give it some quick saves, because quick saves tend to break regular animation sequences if they aren't called correctly. So let me make sure I'm calling them correctly. So we're going to save it right here. And reload. Yeah, nice. Okay. And we're going to save it right here. And reload. Nice. I'm going to save it right here. And reload. Yeah, I like that so much. All right, okay, cool. And we're going to save it right here. And reload. Oh, that's a little disappointing. That's all right. I was hoping he would go back and look it up, check for beer again, but well. Yeah, we can talk later. Kid Fink wants to see us. So this is, I want to swap the float back and forth between this float and I sure wish they had some beer, even warm beer, something like that. But that's going to be it for the night, ladies, gents. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream for what it is. Okay, so that took me a while to just get to the point, which was really frustrating, just get to the point where I knew where to actually add this script in. And apparently doing something like that, trying to do something like that in the map inner pproc just doesn't work as well as I thought it would. You have to do it in the critter pproc, which is a little annoying. At least when it's conflicting with another critter that wants to start dialogue in the same way. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, going to call it a night here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You've all been amazing, as usual. Very much appreciate the time you guys have spent over here. Hopefully, you learned something about Fallout 2 scripting, and hopefully, I've interested a couple of people in scripting some Fallout 2 sequences. I've learned a couple things about Fallout 2 scripting as well. Like, I can't trust the tile number for the object that I actually clicked on. I have to actually click on the specific tile that's highlighted in the red hex. It's a little annoying. But otherwise, I got a coffee site if you guys are interested in contributing to me. If you feel like it, I may as well start advertising. I don't know why I haven't. I just don't by default, but may as well try a little bit since I have a link. So last week I wrote a script that I fixed up Baxter's script here to, as you'll see here in a second, make him run all the way up to the refrigerator, open it, close it, and then come over here and sigh. Well, this week I thought about adding one extra thing, a little bit of reactivity. Now, if we open up the refrigerator, I'm going to run over here real quick. If we open the refrigerator, there's no beer or alcohol in here, and it occurred to me What if the player wanted to just kind of make Baxter's day, right? What if we actually put beer or alcohol in here? What would Baxter's response be then? Of course, he'd be a bit happier. So why don't we go ahead, since the player can get access to the refrigerator, and they can, if they want to, put stuff in there, we go ahead and make it so you should actually, something happens if you put beer or alcohol in there. So to that end, I documented a few specific commands we're going to be using here. Object is carrying object PID, possibly inventory count, possibly inventory pointer, maybe. Remove object from inventory, obviously, to pull the object out of the refrigerator. Add object to inventory to add it to Baxter's inventory. Maybe pick up object, probably not wheeled object, but we can also test out wheeled object and see how it plays out either way. First step, we need numbers for the beer and alcohols. So we'll open the mapper up for that. And let's just go ahead and open the map so we know what we're looking at. Here we go. Here's our refrigerator, and we're looking at the items, which is going to be F1, or if we have this little pop-up over here, select the item selection. But anyway, F1 here. And we just look for some beer. We look for some alcohol. Okay, we got, what is this, Gamma Gold beer? And Rinkin Rum. Those aren't the best looking choices. In order to figure out which item to spawn in, so we need a proto ID number for this. We move them all the way to the left side of this thing here. The index of this square in the proto ID number is listed right here. It's off by 1, generally speaking. So 309 and 310 are the two proto IDs I'd be looking at. Now they're item 309 and 310, so they should just be direct conversions because items have a starting identifier of 0. So we should just be direct conversions with a calculator. That we can go over here into a decimal, and we can put 309 here, and then we can convert that to hex, which is 135, and the same thing for 310, which is going to be 136. This can be seen right there. So that's what we're going to be looking for 135 and 136. So those two are the first ones we're looking at. Let's see if we can find other beers that are actual beers and not something that's radiated like that. So let's keep looking. Rock Gut is over here, now going to be number 468. I wish it would show me the proto ID number or something for it, but it doesn't. Okay, anyway, the proto ID is going to be 468 or somewhere there thereabouts. So let's go and add that in. All right, let's see what else we got here. Spirit Brew Bottle. It's 543, it says. So next we're going to be looking for 551, which is going to be Lesk's Lager. Okay. Wait, hold on. What? Oh, I missed one. I did miss one. 550, 551. 550 is Ghoul's Gold. Okay. All right. Regular lager at 566. Here's another one. Frenzy Water Brew. Cool. Okay. You can see a little vodka label on there. 785 for Frenzy Water Brew. Vodka. Regular old vodka this time. Quality alcohol from Las Vegas Distillery. This packs quite a bunch. Looks like there might be some placeholder stuff in there by accident. Root beer, non-alcoholic drink with soft bubbles and sweet taste. Maybe we should have another branch for root beer. Let's add it. Let's add it for now. 818. So the next one, moonshine. Nuka-Cola. There's the beer, 123. That's what I was looking for. 123 in booze, 124. Okay. All right, so 123, 124. Pop these up to the top. Double check this, make sure there's nothing else here. Okay, we got to convert the rest of these to hexadecimal, or maybe we can just choose which one we want. But, okay, we only need so there's a range she's going to react to positively, right? Beer, booze, probably Spirit Brew, Ghoul's Gold, Less Lager, Regular Lager, Vodka, Moonshine. Okay, so those are the ones he's going to react positively to. I'm going to call on this one. Frenzy Water is a maybe on that one. Root Beer is going to be a joke. Nuka-Cola is going to be a casual reaction. Molotov Cocktail, I'll probably just have him pick them up anyway. Just for fun. He'll be like, oh, it's not alcohol, but it's still fun, you know. All right, so yeah, let's just do a reaction for all of these. So we need to convert all of them into hexadecimal from a regular decimal. So we'll pull our calculator up over here. We'll start doing the calculating. We'll start with 105, and we can see the hexadecimal right there, so 69. Okay. So hopefully those are all the numbers I'll need. And now let's get to scripting. So the first part is I've indicated where I put all my notes here in the spot where you would open the fridge, open object fridge pointer right there. So here's where he's opened the fridge up. Right after he opens the refrigerator here, get our fridge pointer, object open, shelter drink set to 2. We add a timer event, we call back to here. So I'm just going to add a branch here. And we'll add the branch. So I wanted to do something completely different besides just this. Although, no, we wanted to do the same thing. It's just that the text we want to have floated, the float text we want to be different. My alternatives are to make a completely different branch depending on of just animations, but I don't think I actually want to change the animation. I want him to go back to the place where he would normally stand. Still, I just want him to have a different float depending on whether or not he found an item he likes to drink or not. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, this is where he opens the fridge. This is normally where we get the first float. But we're going to have a switch here that will swap floats depending on what kind of item he found. So we'll just do an if check. And then we'll go ahead and... it's going to be a little bit tougher. We need to keep this between things. So let's try drink type, we'll call it. Type, there we go. And we'll go ahead and flip the switch here. So if drink type... So, okay, but we need a whole function in this point to actually tell me what's in the... Okay, well, okay, I think that's probably where we'll add it here. Where he would normally float, we're going to add a function here that will check to see what's in the fridge. It will scan for all of these types here. And then it will either choose randomly or just choose the first one it finds. Well, first thing we want to do is we've got the pointer. We should have the pointer to the fridge at this point. Actually, I think we should just pop this at the top so that anytime this function is called at all, we'll get a fridge pointer in there. And then the rest of it will just assign it as necessary. So it's already open, so we want to take a look at the inventory of the fridge pointer. And then, so object is carrying object PID. We'll start with that one. Object PID. The object is carrying object just takes an object pointer specifically. So that's for like unique quest items and stuff like that. This one checks the PID of the object, returns the quantity of objects with matching prototype indexes PID carried in the inventory of another object. So this one actually tells us which inventory. Let's take a look at the next one. Invin count. Let's see what this one does. Returns the count of how many inventory slots are filled on a given object. That's probably not what we're looking for. It's not an inventory slot. I think object pointer went int invin count, object pointer went. Okay, that's definitely not it. That's not checking the PID on anything. It's just giving you an object pointer and it checks to see whether or not he's got his right hand equipped, left hand equipped, or armor equipped, I would suspect. The last one, invin pointer, is what? There's a pointer to the object in slot number in a given object. Pointer to the object in slot number. Object pointer, what int slot number? Okay, so it just says armor, left hand, right hand. That's all it does. Okay, that's not what we're looking for either. Okay, so neither of those, so we can pop these two off. We'll just check it. So object is carrying object PID is what we're looking for. The object PID. Right, so this returns how many? Okay. So variable how many set to the PID. And so let's go ahead and start with the booze. Expected comma. Oh, object pointer. Okay, so the object is fridge pointer. All right. All right, I think what we do, we don't necessarily need to do this. We just need to check it to see if it's greater than 1, right? Or greater than 0. So we can take all this out and we just do an if check here. If this greater than 0, right? So our first one, let's go and put some comments here. Let me know what the hell we're looking at. Beer, booze, which is 7C. Beer booze, rocket. And all of these need something like that, but not exactly like that. Oh, I forgot. It's not curly braces. Then began. That's what that should be. Put that back out there. There we go. Okay. Now we can take each of these checks and assign a variable. We should do else on each of these though. That way the first one it hits. So it doesn't just do the entire process each time. So end else if, end else if, end else if, all the way down. For a bunch, okay, so actually, now let me take that back. We could just do an or on, well, the only problem is the object pointer, because I wouldn't, if I just did ors, generic ors on everything, I wouldn't know which object it was, because we want to remove one object from the fridge and put it in the player's inventory, and the player's in Baxter's inventory. Yeah, this is fine, because we're doing the same action for each one, with a couple minor exceptions, but we're going to go ahead and we're just going to assign an object pointer, right? So variable object pointer and variable object float, we'll call it, just to make it different from everything else, hopefully. And that's just going to be, the first one's going to be a pointer and the other one's going to be a string, obviously. Since you don't have to indicate which one is which, variable handles it all generically in this, for this compiler. So we still need an object though, so we can remove object from inventory. Object is carrying. Okay, so first one we got here is remove object from inventory. Removes an object from another's inventory. The object pointer it still needs. Note this leaves a removed object in location one you must call move to place it back on the map. Okay, but how do I get a pointer to the object? That's a little. This takes a pointer to the inventory of to the object whose inventory we're looking at. This takes a pointer to the object itself. That's not useful. Add object to inventory. This takes an item here. These are both object pointers though. They're not PIDs. Pick up object. It's an object pointer as well. Wheeled object. Object pointer. Okay, that's not so good. Object carrying PID object. Oh wait, hold on. Returns an object pointer to an instance of an object type PID if an object who is carrying an object of that type. Okay, maybe that's what I want. I completely missed that one. It looks exactly the same thing as the other function I'm using, which is object is carrying object PID. But it's not this. It doesn't return the same thing. This actually returns an amount. This one seems to return a pointer to the object. So let's take a look at, let's go ahead and pop it down here. What does it do again? Just to verify, returns an object pointer. There you go. Takes an object pointer to the character we're going to be looking at, or the critter, or the container who has an inventory we're looking at, the PID that we're looking for at, and then the pointer itself. Okay. Okay, so definitely we're replacing all of my object is carrying object PIDs with object is object carrying PID object. So I did the wrong one there. I did not realize it. Okay, well, let's go ahead and there we go. Grab this, do this, and then we want to, each one of these will actually be, we're going to assign the pointer to it. So object pointer is assigned like this. So can we just do that for every one? Assuming this doesn't error out when I do this. We'll definitely be testing that. Okay, what's going on here? Mismatched parentheses. Okay, though they're no longer greater than 0. So we get rid of that. Still mismatched. Okay, so it doesn't like to assign when it checks. Interesting. Actually, remain both of these, actually. Beer pointer, beer float. Okay, so I guess we can't assign inside here. Let's try beer PID for now. And And we'll go ahead and simply your PID equals 0x07b right there. So we'll just do that, right? And then here's where we switch up the numbers. There's got to be a better way of doing this, because I'm literally just manually writing the whole thing out. I feel like there's got to be a way to loop through this, right? But we need an array, of course. I think we just create the array here. We don't have to do anything special, right? So we can just create it here. We don't need to store it globally. This only needs to be checked here. So we just create it here and then check it and then be done with it. So, and we put our brackets here. And I think that's all we got to do is just separate everything by commas. All right, so we come back over here and we'll just go ahead and grab all those. Pop them into there. For some reason, those are on the wrong spot, but all right. We'll put commas after everything, so they're all separated now, right? And then I think we have a closing semicolon over here, if I understood what was going on here. Yeah, here we go. This one has a closing semicolon. Okay, so fine. Actually, let's close this for now. We don't need. Okay, so maybe while not object carrying PID object fridge pointer beer array index I, we'll call it for now, and then variable I equals to set to 0, right? Let's get our floats over here so now we're looking at. There we go. So while he's not carrying one of these, I++. That's all we got to do on that one. Plus equals 1, I guess. I think there's a plus in here, but I'm pretty sure there's a plus in here. We'll check this, I guess. But we still need to know which one it is. Oh, we'll be able to know what I is, because it'll break when when it comes through here. So we'll know what I is. Then we'll set our beer PID to beer array index I. So we'll have the PID entry. Okay, well, if I'm going to do it that way, if we're going to have an array for the beer, we should have an array for the float, right? So we just tell it, maybe I don't even need this beer PID necessarily. Not yet, anyway, but maybe. All right, so what am I trying to do here? So this while loop is not going to work on its own. I need a break because it can't go past a certain number. That's one problem. I don't think there's a for loop in here. There's a for each, but there's no for loop that I'm aware of. And I don't want to for each it because I just want to break on the first one. Okay, so that's not an option here. If I greater than 8, 0 through 7. I think we can break here, yeah. Right? Oh, it's thin break. Okay, so let me try and go through here. I have an array of things. Should I just put the whole thing in here, or should I have 2 arrays? It's the type of float that I want that's going to be based on the PID that I get. That's the only thing that's frustrating. Okay, I think I'm going to approach it this way. This is probably a terrible way to do it, but I'm going to try and approach it this way anyway. We're going to put all of them in one list here. I'm going to create an array of everything to begin with. So as long as it's in the array to begin with, then we can match it based on what's coming in here. And so when I have a different set of responses for these first 3 versus these next set of 3, right? Okay. Where was the dialogue lines held? I'm not holding the dialogue here anywhere. Oh, wait, are you asking generically speaking? Or are you asking specifically for what I'm doing right here? I mean, generally speaking, like node SXX, it's a line, it's hold from which file it's message files. Oh, okay, yeah. Generally speaking, okay. So yeah, this is pelkc1.ssl. This is pelkc1.msg. The MSG file, so if you were going to open your Fallout 2 modding folder, let me pull up this one. Here's Mutants Rising. And in the Mutants Rising trunk, here we go. So this is where the Fallout 2 game is, right here. And the Fallout 2 .exe is right there. And if you looked over here, when you go to data, text, whatever language it is, English, French, Spanish, stuff like that, over here, and then go to dialogue, these are where all the message files are stored. You won't find it in a vanilla Fallout 2 install because those are actually stored in the DAT files. So if you wanted to open them up from the DAT files, you'd have to come back over here. We're going to open the DAT Explorer here. I'm using DAT Explorer 2. I think there's an updated version of this available, actually. If you got DAT Explorer 2, you go open to your trunk, you go to your Fallout 2 folder, and you go to master.dat, and you drag and drop that into the left-hand panel over here. And then over here, you look at your text, whatever language you're looking at. English is mine in that case, and dialogue right there is what you're looking for. Anything that's a .msg file is a message file, is what it stands for. And that message file is supposed to be used for the matching name of the original script that you're working with. And the reason it's the matching name is a little more complicated, but it's because by default, the game engine looks for the matching name. A little weird that way, but it does. There's actually, you define your name right here, script plc1, and this is stored in scripts.h as a header file. And this literally points to the line number for the in the LST file. I think it's the scripts.lst here. We gotta open it up and take a look. Scripts.lst. Yeah, there it is. 1356 here, and there it is. 1356 here. So my understanding is that when you define it with that name, it looks for the matching name of the message file. Now, don't quote me on that. I haven't verified it, but I think that's how it works. This could be that message extension is kind of universal extension. I'm not sure about what do you mean by universal? It is Fallout 2's specific extension for a text file for a script. Do I need to download something in order to open message files in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code? No, they're just regular text files. This is VS Code is all I got over here. And in fact, the SSL files are also just regular text files. These are just regular text files. The difference is what I have over here, if we look at it, is the BGForge MLS. And the BGForge MLS does parsing on the text files, so you can see the colors. Comments are green. You can see the curly braces here are a different color from the text, from the line numbers and the textual text here. And we look at the SSL files. You can see that the then begins. These are purple. We got our yellow parentheses. One of the really cool things about the BGForge MLS is it has right here, the Dayglow, no, I've been there already. These are pulled in literally from the text file over here. It does this really cool thing where it actually highlights the text line that you were pointing to right there. You can even hover over it and it'll highlight it. So it makes it easier to parse through the script without having to have the browse through the message file. For make it more understandable, yes, those are comments. I didn't write the comments. Most of these comments, just like this one I wrote, or I did at least some sort of typo on it. But these are comments that you can write for it. These are to help it make more sense. Like this particular comment right here, node 81, there's a whole description here saying what this node is supposed to do. This is node 82. These are the text for node 82. This is the text for node 81. Node 81, Baxter joins the party, set APC greeting node, give dude screen message over here, which is a little pop-up in the heads-up display there. Note that when on the Dead Elko map, NPC Baxter will still follow dude around, but will only respond with float 177. So this is just information for the scripter. This is information for the scripter so they know how to implement this node. As far as I can tell, it would appear that the script was written first, then the script was transferred into a message format, and then and at this point I'm trying to implement the messages into the script itself. Here we go. If I is less than 2, we can get this float. If I is 2 rather, we can get a float for this. If I is, so this is, hold on, less than 2, equivalent to 3. This is equivalent to 2. Oops. This should be greater than 2 here. 3, 4, 5, 6, less than 7. Right, and then we got the rest of these. 7, so greater than 6, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. 7, greater than 6, okay. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then it's going to be less than 15 on that one. All right. So between 6 and 15, between 2 and 7, inclusive on this one. I'm sorry, exclusive. Exclusive. They're all exclusive. Between 6 and 15, between 2 and 7, and equivalent to 2, and then less than 2. So those are the checks I'm going to have to do to figure out what floats I want out of this. And this is going to be less than 15 now, since we're going through 15 different items, it looks like. All right, I think this is going to be way more efficient than what I was doing here. So let's just get rid of all of this garbage. I was thinking about, when I originally started writing this, I was going to write it so that each one had their own individual check. But I'm like, that's silly. That's silly to write it like that. I have arrays available to me. I've totally written arrays because the vanilla scripting language by itself doesn't actually have arrays in it. I'm using something that's added by the SFAL community compiler. And the SFAL compiler does support arrays. That's why I'm over here on the SFAL website looking at their unique array section over here, because they have, this is the SFAL mod for Fallout 2 that I'm using at this point. And I already know this mod is supposed to include SFAL with it. So I am just here using the tools that SFAL gives. This won't be backwards compatible with a non-SFAL mod, but it'll work very nicely with an SFAL mod. I wonder if it'll crash with a non-SFAL mod. Maybe the compiler actually just generates some extra code and just makes it work anyway. On vanilla. I don't know. Anyway, either way. Okay, so while it's not object carrying object PID, beer array I, so if it's not carrying one of the items in the beer array in the fridge pointer, it'll just increment. And if it's greater, if I ends up being greater than 15 when it increments, it will break because there's only 15 items in here, 0 through 14. So the indexes are 0 through 14. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, once more, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep. So 0 through 14 are the only indexes. 0, this should be greater than 14, not greater than 15. Equivalent to 15 would work, but greater than 14 is fine. Then we break out of the while loop. Okay, so then we can't do it this way. We need to skip over this whole thing and go straight to this if it's greater than 15, right? So if I greater than 14, then begin, and we're going to say float message here like that for now, else begin. And here we got our, I think there's some scoping here, so I'll have to rewrite this slightly. We get our beer PID. Anyway, okay, so would it be possible to quickly show, like for example, in any map on this mod is location stored in SSL file? Okay, I'm not 100% sure what you're asking for. Are you asking me where SSL files are stored? Elko is one of the settlements in this mod, right? So inside of Elko map, is it stored in SSL and generally? Okay, no. They're not stored in SSL format. They are stored in INT format, as you pointed out already. The message files are raw text. But when you go to the script folder right here, they're all INT files. INT files are compiled files. They're just binaries. If you use the SFAL, I think you might be able to decompile them over here. I know there's a tool that will decompile them over here. But if you use the SFAL script editor, you can just drag and drop the int files onto it and it will decompile them for you. And then you can save them as SSL files. But SSL files are actually text files. So if you wanted to look at the vanilla Fallout 2 SSL files, which is a good place to start, you would have to download the Fallout 2 mapper, right? BIS mapper. So if you extract the BIS mapper into its own folder, this is usually what comes with it. One folder that just contains the mapper itself, and typically there's a scripts folder inside of there. Or maybe not, maybe I put that myself. But anyway, one folder that's a documents folder, which has all the art templates here for creating new artwork. Then it's got a compiled arts by Pixote, which if you open the PDF is literally all, it's all the, oh my God, forget that. Art images, we can look at this. This is all the scenery in the mapper itself, in the default vanilla mapper rather, assuming you haven't added anything new into it. The index numbers are actually listed underneath each one, so you can just browse through here without having to browse through the mapper. It makes it a little bit easier to deal with. Doesn't work for a mod that you're making yourself where you have your own artwork, but it works for the vanilla artwork. And then we have the editor introduction, which I do highly recommend you give a read if you have not had a chance to yet. It's very useful. It has all the shortcuts and a bunch of, actually has a bunch of scripting information here too. The scripting information is also over here. This is a little more complete than this because I have been over here trying to update this as I find issues. Whereas this is not, this is just the original version. It's originally written over 6 years ago, it says, by Ocular. So a long time ago, 6 years ago when this was published, actually. It was a long time ago. And the rest of these are just text files, which you should give a read and take a look what they are. Then you got all installer and patches, which you apply to the mapper. There's a city limit patch, which removes the limit of, I think, 50-something cities you can have max. Removes that limit, you can have more cities. There's an elevator stub patch, not really sure what this does. And then a high resolution patch for the mapper, which I do highly recommend installing if it doesn't have it by default. And then over here, final folder down here, updated source codes. Again, this comes with the mapper when you extract the folder, the mapper folder. Updated source codes. If you look into here, the 1.2D source codes, these are the ones that were provided by Heinlemel, but I assume Heinlemel was one of the people who worked on the original Fallout 2. So the 1.02D source codes, 1.02D is the last official release of Fallout 2. So I assume that the person who worked on the official release, the last official release, boxed up all their source codes, all their script source codes, and put them, or all the ones they had, because it's not complete. But there's a bunch of them here, and put them into this folder, and then gave them to somebody so that somebody included them with the mapper when they put them out. Maybe even that guy put them in with the mapper. I don't know. Anyway, and if you take a look in here, we can see each of the names. We have Arroyo. I'm not sure what base is. We have Broken Hills folder. We have a Din folder. We have an Enclave folder. Gecko, Klamath, Modoc, Navarro, NCR, New Reno, San Fran, Sierra, Vault City, Vault 13, and 15. And if you take a look in each of these, let's take a look at the Arroyo one right here. The Arroyo one, unfortunately, does not have all the scripts, but it has the Elder script right here. So if you take the Elder script, you can see that's the SSL file, and you can see that's the text file right there. Now, that is unfortunately all we really have available to us. If we look at the RP 2.33 source codes or the RP source only has the headers, but the 233 source codes tends to have more of the scripts that are available. There's a bunch of comments in here, so they definitely pulled the source code from somewhere else. But anyway, so if you wanted to look at vanilla source codes for Fallout 2, you would download the mapper and look in the 1.02D source codes folder inside of the mapper. Updated source codes, and then inside here, 1.02D here. But if you want to look at other source code, because the RP source code is pretty good too, they're all vanilla source code. They don't actually use SFAL for any of this stuff yet. I think that was on purpose. They wanted to keep the RP mod playable for people who don't want to use SFAL, which is fine. And this is where all the SSL files are stored. The SSL files allow you to actually take a look at how something else was scripted in the game. So if you see something happen in a mod, or not in a mod, but in the game engine itself, and you want to do that same thing, you could take a look over here for the name, but here's the process. I'll show you the process by which you would identify the script you're looking for, and then how to find it. So SSL files is main project of all things happening inside of a settlement. No, an SSL file is an individual script for an individual critter. It could be a map script for a map, but those are the only two types of scripts that are really out there, except for global scripts, which don't really count for vanilla Fallout. Global scripts are SFAL specific and are they're designed to work with the SFAL mod itself in such a way as to change the way the gameplay works, generally speaking. Okay, so I'm just going to walk through the process once here. Let's open up the mapper and open up a map. I'll do the one we were looking at last week just to give an idea of what we're looking at. Game movie, yeah, that's right. Okay, so we were looking at this map right here last week because I was trying to figure out which critter was doing what. You can select the critter you want to look at here. You can press the edit button over here or the E key, either way. And then that'll tell you that right here where it says new script, ecbdygrd.int. That's the script you want to look at. However, there are other ways. If you press the I key, which isn't immediately available, the name of the script also pops up over here. And as you can see, that is literally the only script on the map here is EC Bodyguard. All these critters are controlled by this one script. The special encounter scene is stored in SSL file technically, or does it hold in multiple files? This specific scene is actually stored in a map. If you go over here and go to open, you can barely see it in the corner, but it says open up there. and you look for the map name is gamemovie.map. Okay, so I just laid down some garbage so that I can put stuff down here. So that was my pattern file. And then I just drop a critter on here. We right click on the button for the icon for the thing we want to drop on the map. Drop it on there like that. We can put a cow on here. The up, is it the up and down? No, it's the no, what is it? Is it control? Control down, control left. Control and left and right will do it. Although if you come down here, you can actually shift down the direction that you want him to face over here as well. But I like to use the control and left and right arrow buttons. And you can drop down like a little cow there and a little, whatever this is, rad scorpion. And you can have them duke it out over here, something like that. But then when you're ready to add a script to the critter, you select the critter you want to add the script to. Make sure that little red hex is highlighted. Press the E key or the edit button down here once again. And where it says new script, you click the script, you click that button, and then you select the script from the drop down that theoretically you've already added to the game engine itself. This doesn't do anything special except it just adds the script. And then you can come over here, and once you've added the script, you can press I. Oh, I guess apparently a couple of these already have a script attached to them. You can press I and see the script name attached to the critter floating right above the critter there. Because of the limitations of this mapper, it was made in 1990 something, you can only see up to 20 scripts at a time. So if I opened a very busy map, yeah, this one probably has it. So you can only see the 20 of the scripts here. You don't get to see the scripts for that guy. You don't see the script that's attached to that guy or that guy, and probably a few other places in here as well. So if you wanted to see those guys, you'd have to isolate them alone a little bit. It's a little hard to do sometimes just by leaving them on the screen. There we go. And sometimes if you're really bad about it, you just haul them all the way off the map here, and then you can see much easier their one script on its own. Also, you just hit the edit button, you take a look at it. Okay, so it's not that the scene itself is not stored in the SSL file. The scene itself is stored on a map. The critter is on the map. The SSL file that is compiled into a script, so the INT file, is attached to this critter while it's on the map. So technically the map file holds all the information for what script is attached to which critter and where the critter is on the map. Does that answer the question you're asking there? Or such things like that. Okay, you're working on the SSL file because that's the text version of it. When you go to compile the file, it's compiled into an INT file. So, and again, if you wanted to look at the INT file, let me see if I can get it to do that here. You have to open the SFAL script editor, and you can look at the INT files, but they're a bit more confusing because there's no comments or anything like that. You can grab your INT file from your data/scripts folder and just drop it onto here, and this will decompile it for you after a couple seconds. So that's a decompile, and as you can see right here, it tries to save it as an SSL file. You can hit cancel here and just look at it directly. But this is a decompiled version of it. It's functional enough. You can look at it and try and see how they did stuff. But it typically has a bunch of really weird extra stuff. Like this is all the party member stuff. This isn't written into the script file itself. There's an advantage of doing it this way. There's another tool that you can do it with as well that where you don't have to use the SFAL script editor, but otherwise. So you can look at int files. It's just that they're not the plain text version of the file. They're the actual binary. And in order to get the binary to show up in the mapper, you have to make sure you add it to the scripts.lst file, which is this guy right here, which obviously won't open. So you have to add an entry for this in the scripts.lst. This usually isn't a big deal to worry about right at the start, unless you just want to start with your own new script of your own, which is probably a good idea. But you should take a look at the tutorials I put up there because they actually do explain the step-by-step process. And it'll be a little bit easier because you can look at what I'm doing as well. Now, there is one exception. Let me open up the mapper one more time. The one exception is the map script. Now, it's also an SSL file, and it also compiles to an INT file, but you can't identify it with the edit button or the I button to see the maps here, the scripts here. You have to go to File, there it is, the third option over here. So it's File Tools Scripts, and then down here, Show Map Script. The map script for this map is VLT scripts, show map script, VLTM1.int. Hopefully, if you're writing your own scripts, you have the source code for it. So that allows you to know the name of it. And so you go find the source code for it because the compiled file should have the same name as the source code that you're writing. And generally speaking, as you go through the Fallout 2 scripting section, that's always gonna have the same name as this. The compiled script and the source code script will have the same name, and so will the message file. So you can attach a script to the map. Just that's part of the confusion I was having there, because you can attach a script to the map. Map scripts only run in certain situations, like when you enter the map and when you exit the map, in a couple of situations like that. They don't have a critter pproc, so they don't run the same way a critter pproc does. I do believe they have a map update pproc, so you can run them on map update, like they will update the lighting and stuff like that. But anyway, otherwise, so if you're assuming you're not attaching a map script, which you don't have to attach the map script. You just go ahead and select the critter, again, the critter that you want. You hit the edit button down here or the E key, and you go over here and click on new script, and you select the script you want. The script has to be compiled. It has to be in the Fallout in the Fallout 2 slash Fallout 2 slash data slash scripts folder. The INT file has to be over here, and it has to be on the scripts.lst file over here. And when you attach it, you're looking for it's sorted by alphabetical order in the mapper. Generally speaking, in other situations when you're scripting for it, you have to pull it in by line number. But again, scripts.h, the header file here, you could also use this, and if you define your name like that, this tells it what line number to look for. If that makes a little more sense. It gets complicated when you start getting deeper and deeper into this. Here's the thing here's the way I think you should approach it to begin with here. First of all, make yourself a blank map of your own, like just draw up something that looks usable for you. Put a couple critters on it. Put some artwork, put some scenery, put some buildings on it, something like that. Get used to using the mapper for just a minute. Save the map, and then try and get that map to show up in the game engine. Now, to get it to show up in the game engine, in the game itself, because, I mean, once you've got it in the mapper, it'll show up in the mapper anyway, but make it show up in the game itself. To get it loaded in the game itself, assuming you have ddraw.ini and you want to make a ddraw compatible map here, load up your ddraw.ini, do a search for starting right over here, and we're looking for the word starting map. Where is it? There we go. Starting map is what we're looking for right there. Change the name of the starting map. So normally this is commented out like this because there's a default starting map already, which is the Temple of Trials. Change the name of the starting map to the name that you named it to. Include the map extension right there because you're going to need that. And then load up the game. And that should, in theory, start you on that starting map. Right? Once you get that far, once you get to the point where you're actually starting the game and it starts up on the map you want to load, then you start worrying about scripting. Then you start worrying about attaching scripts to the critters. Then you start worrying about getting the critters to do stuff. Then I can start showing you how to actually get them to do the thing you want. If you don't have to necessarily set it as a starting map, not necessarily. It's not absolutely necessary. What you can also do is if you load up your Fallout2.exe, go to the main menu screen and you can hit Control-R. Control-R opens up a map select menu. Scripts partially run when you open up a map in this way. They kind of work a little bit. You can save, but you can't reload and you can't exit the game like this. You have to hit Control-R again just to exit the game. But anyway, let's go ahead and load up AR Village here. It makes a little game recording. You can name it whatever. You can not name it if you don't want. Apparently the map I loaded actually plays this and gives you the Pip-Boy. So then you can walk around here and you can there is some of the scripts work. A lot of the talk scripts do not though. Like you can't actually talk to anybody. But if you wanted to, you could also just hit F4 here, save it in, I'll save it into a blank spot here. And then Control-R to exit, and then load that blank spot you just saved. Theoretically, that shouldn't be a problem. Apparently it is, though. I know why, though. It's because I'm in a mod. If you're in a vanilla game, it won't do that. So Control-R, I already use it for check out content of Fallout 1 and saw it on some YouTube video. Okay, cool. You're set there then. If you already know what Control-R is, that's the way to use it. This is where I'm supposed to be, over here and over here. Okay, over here is where I'm at. All right, here we go. Okay, so now I'm over here. Oh, okay, oh, that's right. Okay, so I have an array of different items that can be in the fridge. He's going to have 4 different responses for these different items. So if it goes through the entire list and gets to the end of it, which is what this is, We'll just break out of it once it's over 14. If it is over 14, we're going to have this float message. Else, we're going to pull the beer PID. We need to go which I. Well, we need the beer PID either way, but we're going to have a float message. Well, then let's show. So if I is, we're going to do all these checks here. Less than 2. I is less than 2. Then begin. And this is not the best way of writing this. I'm just going to do it the long way first, and then I'll shorten it down. We're going to float message here, and it's going to be self object. Okay, so if it's less than 2, it's these two, a Nuka-Cola and a root beer. Maybe I want to have a separate one for, I'm going to have a separate one. We're going to have a separate one. The root beer one will be tricked. The Nuka-Cola one will be not beer, but still refreshing. All right, let's do that. Okay, well, it's not beer, but still refreshing. Ish. There we go. Okay, so there's our float message. We need a float color. Good. I think float color good is going to work for that. I think the float color good is green, if I recall correctly. So that's the float message for if it's equivalent. We're going to make it equivalent. Well, let's actually reorder these a little bit, right? Equivalent to 1. Equivalent to 0. So we got phone for 0, 1, and 2. These are all 3 unique ones. I feel like maybe I'm overkilling on that one, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So if I equivalent to 0 for the first one. Oops. 0 for the first one. Else, if I equivalent to 1, then begin. You don't have to write it with the begin every time, but I find it is slightly easier to organize. And not necessarily so easy to read, but anyway. If I is equivalent to run, it's going to be the root beer. Float message self object. I'm going, no. Ah, shucks. I thought this was regular beer. There we go. That seems good. And then float message blue. I don't know, whatever. Let's do something else. Let's get the whole range of colors in here for no good reason. Else here, if I equivalent to 2, then begin. And this is for the Molotov cocktail. Let me go ahead and actually put some indicator in here so I know which one's which. Nuka-Cola first for 0. Float message self object. We're going to actually, I think we should do more than that just in here. But anyway. Well, that's a beer with some punch. I'm going to call it. And then we got a float message. We'll make this one good as well. Oh, it's not. Float color good. Float color good. Else, if that was supposed to be an I, not a 1, let's make sure that's an I. So if it's greater than 2 and less than 7 is where we got. I is greater than 2 and can we do that? I think we have to spell out and I is less than 7, right? What I got here, greater than 2, less than 7. We're going to have a set of I don't trust this. Like this, man, this is some crazy looking beer. I'll leave that alone. So we won't pick those up. Then begin, float message, self object. Man, that's some crazy looking stuff. Not sure I'm ready for that. Let's go for that. That seems reasonable right now. And then we got finally a float color. We'll go with afraid, which I don't really know what color that is. Wish it was a little more obvious, but all right. Okay, so that's one more float, and then we got one more to go. It's between 6 and 15. These are all actual alcohols. Else, if I greater than 6 and I less than 7, then begin, float, message, self object. And I feel like there's a better way of doing this. I'm going to do this in a slightly different way in just a second, just to make it cleaner and in theory easy to read. Anyway, then begin. And so what's our message for here? Oh, Sunny D. I don't know. Anyway, that's stupid. Oh shit, some good stuff. Don't mind if I do. I'm gonna go with that right there. Float. Color. Good. Once again. So each of these will have different responses. This one he won't pick up. These ones he'll pick up one out of, and this one he'll pick up one out of. So this is kind of branching in the sense that he's doing a slightly different thing for each situation, but it's not branching in the sense that he's not going to do a completely different set of animations. All the animations are going to be the same. What he'll float will be different. And then it goes through the rest. And let's actually verify that this works before I get too much farther here. Because right now we just got to float. Now he's not actually picking up the items yet. Right now he's just floating. Let's give it a compile. Warnings, but no errors, it looks like. Let's see if that worked. Oh, well, first of all, it occurs to me I'm going to have to run up to the fridge and actually... I'm going to have to run up to the fridge and actually put some stuff in there before we get to it. What do I have here? I got some beer. Okay, I got some beer and booze. You can make a new item here. 105, 123, 124. 3, no. 124. Okay, so they're all off by 1. It looks like 124 and 125. Really? Okay, I'm probably going to have to increment each of these by 1, but let's take, let's put a debug message in here. Debug message, PID, colon, and then plus, object PD, object PID, yeah, object PID, and then we put in, so let's pop this in here. Beer PID right there. Right? No, what's this do? There's a prototype ID of an object. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. I could really use the name of it, not this. Never mind, that's not useful. It's not useful. So, another way of getting around this. Oh, I know. We'll just put some Nuka-Cola in there first. Let's see if it identifies the Nuka-Cola correctly. Which is listed as 105 over here, so the number I've translated it to was 105. So if it's not 105, which it's not here, it's going to be 106. So if he doesn't hit if he doesn't hit it correctly, then we'll go ahead and change that. Beat him to it. I didn't beat him to it. Oh well. Okay, we need to make a change here. We're going to go ahead and run. We're going to turn the animate run to an animate walk. Recompile. Reload. And then run over here. So I will definitely beat him there. And we're going to go ahead and put the Nuka-Cola in here. Okay, so what did we get? It didn't float. Okay, so if it didn't float, let's change the Nuka-Cola from 69 to 70. No, it's not 60. It's not 70. It's going to be 6A, I think. It's 106, I think. 6A, yeah. Okay, so let's switch it to 6A over here. Recompile. Reload. I should save it right here, actually. Call it a beer run. Stop sneaking. No! I think he beat me. Maybe not. Okay, let's pull up the U right there. And does he get it? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Nice. Okay, cool. So we have to add 1 to each one. So go and fix that up here, okay? So 332 is 333. 9E is 9F. 3.5 is 3.6, 3.3.4. And I think that's everything right there. Okay, let's start verifying. We got the Nuka-Cola one verified. Let's do the root beer. I don't have a root beer on me. I need to add one for each of these anyway, so let's just go and do that. There we go. Okay, so we have our verified numbers. I was worried that off by one error was an issue I was going to run into. It's definitely not easy to translate between the mapper entries and the actual index numbers when trying to script something in. It's a little annoying that way. I kind of wonder what tools they used when they actually developed the game, but either way. Let's continue on here. So, all compiled. Test it. Let's get the other items in there. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Actually want that. Okay. So let's come over here and let's start spawning in the other items I want. Actually, let's try and get this a little more precise. There's some industrial alcohol. Heavy-duty industrial alcohol mixture of unknown exact composition used in Las Vegas to fuel power generators. Not suitable for draining, though hardcore alcoholics know better than that. Oh no, I gotta do something with that apparently. Did not catch that one when I was looking at it before. 8.19, which is root beer, non-alcoholic drink with soft bubbles and sweet taste. It's almost as good as Nuka-Cola and almost as refreshing as a cool beer. Placeholder art, create, and inventory. And then Moonshine at 8.20. Illegally produced alcohol from Las Vegas. Packs quite a punch. Placeholder art, create that in the inventory. Close, run up, run, you dirty son of a... God damn it. Okay, fine, forget it. We'll reload this one right here. We'll do all that stuff I just did. We're going to create all this stuff in the inventory without having to worry about fighting the guy right now. 8.18, create an inventory. 8.19, create an inventory. And 8.20, create an inventory. We got to take a look at this placeholder art real quick. Okay, so do that, and let's take a look at what we got here. We don't have placeholder art. We're set there. I need to adjust those. Yeah, I think we're good. I don't think we need placeholder art. What is this? Hold on. What is this? Root beer. Oh, maybe. No, it's probably fine. Nuka-Cola bottle is probably fine. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, hold on. Strong back. There we go. Oh, it looks like it gave me some levels just to get the strong back perk. Interesting. Okay, let's give that a try. We're going to run off the screen, get through this. Save it here. So I'm ready to actually do the beer run. I'm going to just run up here as fast as I can. No, straight up running, you bastard. You beat him just barely. Okay. All right, so root beer, right? That's where we're at over here for the root beer first. Yeah, root beer. So we did the Nuka-Cola, root beer time. Shucks, I thought this was regular beer. Okay, there we go. Cool. The size is going to have to change, but otherwise, Molotov cocktail, right? Yeah, okay. Well, that's a beer with some punch. All right, cool. Got my gold beer. Man, that's some crazy looking stuff. Not sure I'm ready for that. All right, cool. Good. Reload. Should be this one. Yep, broken rum. Okay, cool. Yep, same thing. Cool. Reload. Spirit Brew, which is this one. Yeah, Spirit Brew. Okay, cool. Frenzy water. Here you go. That's got a vodka label on it. I wonder if that was a mistake or not. Anyway, let's take a look at what Frenzy water looks like. Yep, cool. Okay. Let's throw a regular beer in here. That's not good. Did I miss a float? Greater than 6, less... Oh, that's not right. That's not supposed to be 7. It's supposed to be 14, right? Or less than 15. Less than 15. 15. All right. Good thing I checked. That's why you checked, because you make sure it works. Let's try that again. Regular beer again. Done. Shit, some good stuff. Don't mind if I do. Nice. There we go. Vodka. Cool. Moonshine. Nice. Okay, cool. Last one. I don't have one for the industrial alcohol. Okay, so I don't have one for the industrial alcohol yet. And this is now going to be less than 8 instead of less than 7. So we're going to have to switch this to be less than or greater than 7 instead of greater than 6. So this is not going to be 15. and 15, 8, 7, oops, 16. There we go. Right, 16. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15. So less than 16. Yeah. There we go. Okay, yeah. I should set it up. Okay, so I'm going to simplify this first before we get to the next step. But otherwise, if I was just going to continue with this method here, I would just add in, he would pick up the, we would remove the object from the inventory, add object to inventory, possibly pick up object, and then we might wield that. But either way, we're not going to do that first. First, I'm going to simplify this. This is a bit complicated, and it's kind of unwieldy to look at all these if-else checks. It's actually a bit simpler to assign the string individually. Okay, so let's make one change right here. So if I is greater than 15, we do want to break, but we're going to then begin here, and we're going to break in it. And then we're going to go ahead and set our float message pointer. So let's go ahead and grab our beer float and actually drop this down here. We're going to make our beer float set equal to, colon equals here. And we're just going to grab our float that we want, and we're just going to copy it right in there. That won't change the color, but we can work on that. We'll make another variable called beer color, or float color, rather. Float color. I should call it CLR, just to make it different from the float color thing here that's already got its own definition. And this will be float color pane. There we go. So if it's greater than 15, which is what this check is, literally right here, you can see they're both highlighted. We're going to set the beer float to be this string, and then float color pane once after we break. Let's pull the break down to the bottom. So it's okay. Beer float and float color, because we got to define them ahead of time. The variable right here. Okay, there we go. So that sets those two up. We don't need this part anymore. We can just pop that off. Yeah, we don't need that, and we don't need that. And we can bring this all up in one slot here. Oops, I just realized I put the wrong message there, actually. This should be psi, not that. My bad on that one. That should be psi. There we go. There's no beer. Move those lines again. Put that line. Add these guys back for a brief second. Okay, here's the string we want it to be. Float message. No, that's not float message. Beer float is what that should be. Beer float. And there's the first one. Then we're going to have float color. Color good. We'll get rid of this line. There we go. And float color. Going to be this. And we're going to get this line, and we're going to pop it all the way down here. And instead of having an individual float message for every single instruction, we're going to have one float message instruction. We're just going to take the beer float here, and we're going to change our float color to the two variables we've already assigned in each of these if-else checks. So we just go through here, check which one it is. If it's one of these, we assign the color, and it'll go here. Otherwise, we can it'll just play this one. So that's all it'll do. I think if I put this in reverse order, it might be slightly faster. It won't matter. The game plays fast enough not to worry about it. But anyway, so that sets that up. The beer float, we need two floats, actually. Okay, so this is going to be the psi. This is still going to be a psi here. But if he's 0 to 2 or 7 to 16, he's going to have a different float. Okay, so for the second part, where it's going to be a glug-glug float, right? So let's just check this first, make sure everything works before we get too much farther. Pop stuff into here. We'll check, what was this again? Root beer first? Okay. Ah, cool, okay. Ah, okay, cool. Excellent, excellent. Okay, cool. So that worked. So, okay, so I'm going to try something first. I'm going to do with the Nuka-Cola. I don't, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. As long as we need this to not be assigned if it's greater than the size of the array. So if it's greater than 15, nothing needs to happen. BRPID equals needs to be not set, or we can't read from the array. Because reading greater than 15 is outside the end of the array. If we do that, there's a chance it'll crash. Probably won't because of the way the game engine is written, or at least the arrays are written, but it might still. I don't want to do that. So let's do this. I took away the check earlier, but if I is greater than 15, then begin. We're going to do this, and we're going to pop these two into here, just to get everything working here. This will break like normal there, but we'll do this and then else begin, so that all the rest of them will actually end up inside of here. We'll go and tab all of this up here. There we go. So if it's greater than 15, it only gets one float. If it's anything else, we actually do stuff with it. Verify this real quick. Check for the greater than 15 answer real quick. Psi, cool, okay. And we'll check a root beer one just for fun. Yeah, cool. Okay. We do need the beer PID. So okay. So if it's greater than 15, there won't be any beer PID. If it's less than 15 though, there's going to be a beer PID. So we want to at the end of this, we want to I'm sorry, not the end of this. Yeah, no, at the end of this. Beer, this is fine here. Okay, we want to pull the beer PID from the refrigerator. So I'm going to start first by testing pickup object. Let's see what this does. Over here. So pickup object causes a critter self object to animate and attempt to pick up a given object. If used in regard to a critter, this flag is pinged when a steal detect fails. In other words, when detected stealing, pickup object is called for the person you were stealing from. Not worrying about stealing. The object pointer, the PID. Well, I guess the PID. Actually, that may not be what I want. Can I get a pointer? Oh, wait, there was a function call that is the function call I want right here. Object carrying object. PID object. Okay, cool. So there's our beer PID. We need that. So beer object. PID object. Does this need a define in front of it? Yeah, it looks like it. Not a define, but rather a variable declaration. Looks like it. Variable here. Let's grab this and throw it down here so we can keep them right next to each other. So we take the PID and we pull in the who is going to be the fridge pointer. And then the beer PID there. Close that. Right, that's the PID we're pulling in here. Yeah, it's the PID. Okay, cool. So it should identify these, and it's already, since it's floating correctly, it should already be identifying these correctly. We pull the object pointer for it, and then we'll try and pick the object up, right? Pick up object, object pointer, beer object. Let's see what happens with a pickup call. That may or may not work, but we'll try to find out. So I need to verify. I need to double check to make sure it's not one or the other, but doesn't animate. Did not pick up the object. Did not pick up the object. It was worth a try, though. Disappointing. It didn't even animate, unfortunately. I won't worry about animating it at all. So pickup object doesn't do what I want. We're going to get rid of it. The next thing I was looking at was, so we're going to remove the object from the inventory and add the object to the inventory. These are the two most commonly used commands when you want to swap around inventory between critters and like barter objects and stuff like that. We're going to remove object from inventory. The object pointer is going to be fridge pointer. Object that we're going to remove is the beer object, or yeah, object here, beer object. And then we're going to add the object to inventory is going to be self object here. And it's going to be beer object. Let's see if that works or not. It might not actually work the way I think it will, but we're going to find out. Oh, object pointer item. So that's an object pointer still. It's not anything special there. Compile. I'm not seeing any errors. Let's keep going. All right. Into there. Sees it. Removed. Oh, yeah. Got caught stealing the root beer. Come on. There we go. All right, cool. Okay, so that worked. The thing is, I don't want it to... I want him to skip it for these items here. So we're going to have a check around this whole thing here. Okay, we're going to do this slightly differently then. I think I have a better approach. So we're just going to go ahead and pull variable beer PID right up here, right up to the top. We're going to set it to 0 first. Because there's no PID 0. If there might be a PID 0, but none of these are PID 0. Not, what we're looking for is not PID 0. So whatever's going on, we're just going to go ahead and say that. So if, and then over here, I'm going to put this in here. This is maybe not the best approach. There might be a slightly better one just by doing an extra check either way. So we don't want it for these, but we do want it for the rest. Oops. Pop it in here, and in here. So these three, not this one. Forget it. It's actually not going to be quite so readable. Let's just do it the other way. Okay, so as long as if I is less than 3 and I is greater than 7 at this point, because I've already eliminated the situation where it's greater than 15. So it's going to be less than 15 in this case. So what's left is less than 3 and greater than 7. Then begin. This is a bit more readable if I just do it this way. I was going to try and just put everything in a separate way, but it's not. It's kind of silly to do that. Okay, we can get rid of this up here now. Okay, so there we go. If it's one of these, so 0 to 2, it's one of these, or if it's 7 to 15, it's one of those. It's going to go ahead and do this function call here, which is going to grab an object out of the fridge and then do this whole thing. Otherwise, it'll just do the float, and he won't actually pick anything out of the fridge. So that'll clean that up a little bit. Won't pick up dangerous radioactive alcohol for now. Okay. Maybe in the future I will set something up so he will pick it up, like if he's desperate enough after like being sober for too long or something. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to make sure that he doesn't pick it up, and he only picks it up for the rest of the situations. The last thing I want is to change the final float from just a generic psi to something that's unique for each one of these. I want the psi in one situation where he doesn't find any of the matches here. So for the 2 to 8 here, but I want glug glug for all the rest of them. So this is the only part I want to change right there. I'm going to wrap something around this. All right, let's okay, so I'm torn between, do I want to just check if the critter has an object in their inventory, or do I want to check and see if they actually got it from the fridge? That's why I'm torn between. Do I just want them to start drinking stuff that's in their inventory or not? Glug beer in the inventory. You think, okay, so you're of the opinion that as long as it's in the inventory, whether or not it actually came from the fridge, we should let them drink it? We'll go for that. We'll try that out. We will use the same function call we used earlier, which is object carrying object PID. So make it like a items I like to drink. Yeah. No, I have an array for that already. That is exactly what I'm doing. Yes. We'll do the same thing that we did up here. Actually, we'll just go ahead and pull this whole while function here. Okay. So we'll get our beer array. We get our fridge pointer. We check to see which eye it is, and we go ahead and do a very similar thing to this. So these switches are, or it's going to be the same switches as here. It's going to be this one right here. Okay, so it's not giving me any errors about where the variables are located, so we're going to have to give this a try and see if it works. I may have to make the beer array global, but also the eye as well. I feel like they shouldn't work all the way down here, but anyway. Does this compile? Does this throw me errors? It looks like it throws me errors, yeah. Okay, that's redefinition. Okay, so it didn't like that? Really? Really? That's a redefinition. So the scope isn't limited to that? That's interesting. If that's the case, then can we just... That's really odd that the scope is like that. What the fuck? Macro redefine. Yeah, fuck you. That's not a problem. Come on. What a really weird way of doing that. I mean, anyway. We don't want fridge pointer. We want self object here. So we're going to check to see if it's in any of the ones that are in the beer array already. We need to set I equals 0 so that it will initialize to 0 here, and I'll go through the whole thing again. If I is less than 3, greater than 7, right? And or it's gonna be or, and that needs to be an or up here too. Now that I think about it. Yeah, it's got to be an or over here. And then we are not going to worry about removing the object or adding the object. And we're going to go self object here. Actually, let's not worry about removing the object for now. Let's just keep them afloat. Float message self object glug float color good. And then down here, else begin. And we'll put the sigh in there for all the other situations. So he just sighs on the way out. Let's see if this works. It says it compiled. I'm going to have to ask about that. But anyway, so let's test this out once. Reload. So let's see. Let's pop a root beer in here. Oh, shucks. I thought this was regular beer. Is he going to go glug it? Glug. Yeah. There we go. So let's put something. Let's just go ahead and reload it, and we'll test it without the beer at all. Sigh. Oh. Wait, what does he have on him? Wait, he shouldn't have anything on him, right? He doesn't have anything on him. Like, there's nothing in the refrigerator, but he still glugs, and I don't want him to glug if there's nothing in the refrigerator and he doesn't have anything on him. I less than 3 or I greater than 7, else. What is I? I is less than 3. If it's 0, it should increment through here. In this while loop here, right? So if it increments through here, there's no I in team. I isn't very descriptive true. Well, I'm literally, it's index in this case, and it's an array index because I'm going through this array here to see if one of these objects types is in the refrigerator. If it is, then I pull the object out and put it in his inventory here. And then later on down here, I check to see what's in his inventory. If he has one of those objects in the inventory, in theory, well, let's go ahead and, yeah, this should increment to greater than 15, greater than, yeah, should be 16 because it only breaks when it's greater than 15 out of this while loop, right? So we're going to go ahead and look at the debug thing to see and make sure what we got here. I is 16. Oh, I know what okay, never mind. I know what my problem is. Greater than 7 and I is less than 16. Dewey. Okay, that was my fault. Should have realized that. 16 is greater than 70. Yep, exactly. Yep. Not in base negative 10. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Okay, so he should be a double psi here. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and reload it, and let's go ahead and put something in there for him to drink. Here we go. No! Shoot. Okay, let's wrap these in parentheses and see if that doesn't help, because this is this needs to be or, and then this one needs to be and, I think. Or, no, maybe... Whatever. Let's try it. Same, that's what I was saying. Okay, cool. So... A becomes for... Oh, okay, yeah. Nah, that's bullshit. Ah. Okay, now maybe let's separate this out a little bit more. What is 4 through 7? Why aren't those glugged? Well, I'm explicitly not pulling them out of the refrigerator right now. I have it set so that they're afloat that says, man, that's some crazy looking stuff. Not sure I'm ready for that. And the reason is because those are Gamma Gulp Beer, Runkin' Rum, Spirit Brew, Frenzy Water, and Industrial Alcohol. And I'm not, unless there's like a situation that it might be funny at some point to add a situation in there where he would be desperate enough to go for the industrial alcohol. And if I play through the game farther in and he actually does show an interest in industrial alcohol, I'll add an extra switch in there to be like, okay, this global variable switch, so then he does pull this stuff out. But for now, I don't know what the rest of his character progression is, so I'm just going to leave it like this. I just wanted to get some real nice reactivity to the player, adding some alcohol into his inventory or into the fridge. This is still obviously incorrect, though. Okay, let's separate them out. Let's go ahead and pull the parentheses out of there, and let's actually move this parenthesis into here and do the and then do a parenthesis right there. So it's got to be it's got to be less than 3 or greater than 7 and less than 16. Let's see if that works on its own like that. Pop you in there. Thought this was regular beer. No, that didn't work either. Shoot. Okay. Let me double check something here real quick. Yeah, it's got it in his inventory. So, what else? What else? What can I do here? And I is definitely... What is I when we get down to here? Now that I think about it, let's go look at it. 16. Okay, that's not good. Okay, maybe the issue is my beer array isn't global enough, so let's go ahead and make it let's take it out up a level here to the top. So now it will be global to that section. And this section both. I say global. I mean, that's not the right word, but in scope at least anyway. Save it, recompile, reload. 2 different sections of the function. So I have an if else going on down there. So the issue might be that the array isn't in scope and the game just doesn't crash when it doesn't read an array. So that could be an issue. All right, cool. There's my glug. Let's go ahead and reload it. It looks like that was the issue. There's nothing in there now, so it should be a psi, and there should be a psi down here. There we go. Okay, cool. That was the issue. Let's double check with one of the ones that he's not supposed to drink. Industrial alcohol. Psi. That's not right. He shouldn't have psied for the industrial alcohol. What's the frenzy water? That's what he should have popped up with. It should be in this range. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Should be number 7, so it should be less than 8, right? So I have a less than 8 check down here. Yeah, I have a less than 8 check, so it should be within the 7 then. What's I coming out of here? Okay, so what's I at this point? What the fuck? Did you not recompile? Should have run by now. What's going on? Oh, hold on. Maybe I did that. Hold on. Yeah, no, that's right. Greater than 7, right? It's got 3 to 7, right? Less than 3, greater than 7. That's correct. Finally. Why is that 16 at this point? Okay. Is industrial vodka not 818? Industrial alcohol, rather, not industrial vodka. Industrial alcohol, it says here is 818. There's no way I did this wrong, but 332. Oh, okay, my bad. 332 there. Something's off here. 19, 333. Okay, I'm off by 1. Okay, so that should be 332, 333, and 334. What is this? 331? Really, 817. 331. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay, I don't have any duplicates here anymore. Okay, try that again. That's correct float. That's correct float. Okay, cool. One more. Throw the Nuka-Cola in here. Cool. Glug glug. Nice. All right, cool. I think that's going to be good right there. Everything else looks correct. Okay. All right, so let's get rid of this. Let's just comment it out for now. And I think we're set. I think that's all we need for now. So right now I'm just pulling from the inventory. In the future, I might pull that, just straight up store the beer object that I've got out of the fridge and drink it separately. But for now, this is going to be good. That is a complete script for this critter. He now is reactive to what's in the fridge to some extent, which is really cool. So either if there's nothing in the fridge, he just sighs and sighs. If there is something in the fridge, we'll give him a regular beer. Oh, no, he shouldn't glug glug for this either, now that I think about it. Let's see, does he glug glug for that? Yeah, he shouldn't glug glug for that. But while he'll glug glug a Molotov cocktail, which is, maybe that's funny enough to leave in. Okay, we can change that to be greater than 1 instead of 2. So he won't drink the Molotov cocktail. He'll just pick it up, because then he can use it as a weapon, right? So that'll be fine. Oh, okay. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I think I need to change the order in order to get this to work a little better. I'm not going to worry about it. He can glug glug a Molotov cocktail. It will be fine. The only thing is I'm not removing it from his inventory, so I'm just going to leave it in there, and he'll just collect up alcohol, Molotov cocktails, whatever, as he goes. For now, this is good enough. This is good enough to make at least an entertaining little thing, and it'll be even funnier when he just collects up a whole bunch of garbage in his inventory because you put it in the fridge, and he just pulls it out of the fridge all the time, and then he'll just collect up Molotov cocktails and pretend to drink them, but he won't ever actually drink them. So that'll be fine. That will take care of that. If it's even in decimal, it should be even in hex as well. I had the wrong value. I had the wrong hexadecimal value. Does he complain about Nuka-Cola not being a beer? If so, does he take beer out before Nuka-Cola if both are in there? Good point. Yes, you had several wrong ones in the comments. Many were off by 1. Oh, really? Okay, let's take a look at that. All right, so 106, oops, 6. Oops, wrong one. 106, 6A. Oh, you are correct, 6A. 1, 2, 4, 7C. Okay, 7C, 7D. Did I actually have them like that up here though? 6A, 7C, 7D. 6A, 7C, 7D. Okay, I think I have them right up here. But oh well, I should definitely fix them in the comments though. 3, 3, 4. Okay, cool. The rest of these should be fixed. Okay. All right. Just by looking at the last digit, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, well then let's take a look at that over here and see if they're off by 1. So, oh, that's not going to help me because I don't have them identified anymore like that. I guess we could just go ahead and copy this over here. Just so they're in place. Never mind. They're in a completely different order in here. They're in a completely different order. I can't just copy paste that. I won't clean that up right now. I don't want to clean it up right now. That's going to take forever. Fair point, though. Fair point. I think I have it all fixed now. Let's just verify, though. Nuka-Cola 6A. Nuka-Cola 6A. Beer 7C. Booze 7D. So beer and booze 7C, 7D. Okay. I'll probably also insist on referring to things by name and having a translation layer that turned them into numbers and complained if anything was invalid. That's a good point. I should make defines for them. You do make a good point on that one. They should be defines. Realistically, there should be a whole header file with defines for all the items, but there's not, unfortunately. Okay, that's gonna be it for the night, guys. Let me go ahead and just give this a commit here at this point. So last week I was working on this drinking script, and I'm just going to go ahead and finish it up here by showing you some of the mistakes I made as I've had a week to review this and taken a look at other parts of the script as well. First of all, you don't need to use hexadecimal code here. I was silly for doing that. It never even occurred to me that everything could just be in regular decimal, and we could just pull the index numbers +1 from the mapper, and it would still work. I'm going to go ahead and swap those out first, and then I'm going to show you something else, which is another mistake I made, and I did not even realize it. All the way up here in this script, there's actually a series of defines already that use PID or PID boost. And these defines here actually are in the ITEMPID.H. So there's a bunch of the items are actually defined in here. However, I will note real quick that you'll see this is number 142 and this is number 212. That means there's a whole range of items that are not defined. So it's kind of hit and miss in any ITEMPID.H, unless you yourself have taken the time to fill one out. And if you have, please make it public, so others can make use of it. But anyway, this is a mod anyway, and so there's going to be only a limited number of actual items, but all the rest of them are in the vanilla game. I am just going to continue on here because we got our PID beer and booze and a couple of other things like that already in place. And that I did not realize. And let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these little macro functions that were written out here. I'm going to show you this one real quick, DH. This is a macro specifically. Literally what this does is it takes this text here and puts it literally in place of wherever you write this, and takes the X here if you write something inside of there and puts it in here. That's all the macro does. It is literally a text replace call, so you can make useful shortcuts using macros. Yes, more or less. If you have some repeating lines, macros helps you shorten that. If you want to use macros, there's other ways you can do it as well. Macros are a standard solution for any C programming file, and you'll find a lot of macros in any Fallout script. These are macros as well, but these are used very specifically to replace this number with wherever you write this. And this just makes any code more readable. This is slightly less readable, but it allows you to put a function call in place in just a couple letters, for instance, like using this macro here. And I find that it's sometimes useful to make shortcuts like this, sometimes not so much. This is one of those situations where I might have preferred to have a little more flexibility here. The reason is because remember all those checks I did for the whether or not Baxter was carrying alcohol? Let's take a look at those real quick, all the way down here. So object carrying PID object right here, and I was looking to see in the fridge pointer and the beer array, and then the same thing down here for the fridge, but the same thing also here for Baxter himself. So all three of those are actually in this that specific check, not necessarily that specific check. The other one that checks that one returns an object pointer. This one returns the number that are there of that specific type of object that you're looking for in the PID. And this is supposed to be an int, but whatever. The PID and the object pointer for whatever you want to look on. Now this macro is created, you can see explicitly right here, it's created to be used with the dude object and the dude object only, which I kind of wish there was a little more flexibility here. I'd like to be able to take a look at any object, but I'm not going to bother changing this. I've already got all the script written, so I'm just not going to worry about it too much. This checks the dude object for the type of alcohol you're looking for, which is used explicitly right here. You can see it right here. This is where it's all used. You see it's all used in this part of the macro here. Over here, this no, which is this defined right here, is number of, and it's used over here. So does have number of. That's what those two are. And they're used to check how many total booze, as it says right here, the critter has. And that critter is only dude object. So this only checks to see how much booze the dude object has, and this one checks to see if the dude object has booze of any of these type. The one frustrating thing about this macro, again, is it's not flexible. It only checks the dude object, and I can't really use it all that much. There's also a subtract macro for this, and a subtract booze for this, using exactly the same set of functions. So these macros are all very specifically geared toward the dude object, and I just don't feel like adjusting them to work with any object. And it's not really worth it that much. Maybe it would be a little bit. Maybe it would be indeed, because I could probably use something like this right here or this right here to actually shortcut the whole process, but it's not a big deal. This literally checks everything. I'm already doing a single check for everything in my array check here. So let's go back to the function I wrote over here. So we're gonna make a couple changes here. Like I said earlier, the actual integer PIDs are fine. The hex PIDs are unnecessary. Okay, so let's take a look and make sure the order is actually equivalent. So we're just going to go ahead and put this right after it. Lager, regular lager, vodka, and moonshine. Okay, so these are all in the right order. Okay, so let's go and get rid of these two lines right here. Let's just go ahead and grab all of this. Control C. If you want to know how to actually multi-select a line like this, you select wherever you want and then hold down Alt and Shift and then select the other end where you want. You can do that. You can multi-select entire sections of this thing here. It works in VS Code, VS Codium, probably a bunch of other editors. Anyway, so that's multi-line select here, or something like that. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this in, and we're going to go ahead and comment the rest of that out. And we're going to put commas on everything here so the array still makes sense. And we'll remove the last comment in case it doesn't like that. None of this is going to be in the array. This is the only thing that's going to be in the array. And so let's take a look and make sure that everything still works correctly. There we go. And I'm going to rewrite some of this stuff. Okay, let's make sure everything works correctly. That's not what I'm testing right now. What I'm testing right now are these changes I've made, where I've replaced the hexadecimal version of the item number with the actual item number, item PID number in regular decimal instead of hex. So let's take a look at this and let's make sure that Baxter will have the correct float for each of these items. That's the goal here. Okay, back here, load. Okay. So let's make sure that root beer works. Okay, cool. Pop off the side. Thought this was regular beer. Cool. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and bring you back here. So root beer is a go. Let's take a look at Nuka-Cola. Wish I'd reorganize a little bit. Got some Nuka-Cola here. There we go. Cool. Done. What does he say about Nuka-Cola? Well, it's not beer, but it's still refreshing-ish. Excellent. Moonshine, there it is. Pop over here. All set, there we go. So that definitely did work. Just had to verify it. Using the item PIDs actually works directly, which are specifically the mapper index numbers. Here is beer, right there, beer, drug. Index number 123 here, but the item PID, if we look at the item PID for beer right here, it is 124. That means all you have to do is take the index number of the item in the mapper here and then add one to it. And right next to it is booze. We add one right here. Take a look at that's booze. Index number 24, item PID number 125. So that's the simple way to translate over between which is which. Now, I wanted to verify that just to show you that the decimal version of the number also works right alongside the hex version of the number. So trying to translate it over to hex is not useful. I don't know why I did that last weekend. That was really assailing me. Don't bother doing that. Just use the index number +1, or better yet, and this is where the big thing comes in, where I was like, oh, I noticed he did all this, and it occurred to me that the actual PID defines are available in ITEMPID.H. So I'm going to go and replace those index numbers with the ITEMPID.H defines right here. So starting with PID beer right here. So we got beer, PID beer, and then comma / we don't have to do that. So / like that. And we'll just leave the rest of it commented out for a second here. We got PID beer, then we got PID booze, which is right here. Maybe defining with hexadecimal could store less memory? No. Yeah, no. It's compiled down. The number you use, the way you use to define it doesn't matter for the game itself. The source code makes it more or less readable, however you do it, but for the game itself, it doesn't matter. It's compiled down and it's binary at that point. Hex numbers in ASCII are shorter for big numbers. They're usually bigger because of the prefix, so decimal is better for written numbers. Yeah, but neither one of them are good for readability. And that's the problem I have here, is none of this is readable. Nobody knows, unless I have a comment here, what the heck 819 is, item number 819 is. That's like why? So that's like that's just a terrible way to write code for other people to read. And if I want other people to read, and I would like this to be publicly released at some point so that other people can follow other scripts from other modders and get a better idea of how to write scripts for Fallout 2 and make better mods, you would use the define for the actual number. So PID Nuka-Cola here is a define that actually says 106 in there. So again, a define is a text replace, and the text replace will replace PID Nuka-Cola with this number 106 in parentheses. So I'm going through and trying to replace all of these with the proper defines, which is my fault for not thinking about that when I first started writing this. Consts do not exist in the resulting program. Well, I mean, the number exists in the compile. The number does, but it's in a binary format. It's not an actual 819 per se, although it can be read that way. Anyway, okay, so 819 is the next one I'm looking for. 819 is PID root beer. Good. That's what I'm looking for. That says root beer. That's what I want. 544 is the last one. Boom. And then has that got all of them? There we go. That's got all of them right there. And let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. I'm going to Alt-Shift and then select all those. Then we're going to go ahead and just hit Control to the right arrow key, and then we're going to hit Tab. And then I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and do that one more time, but like in the middle here, like that. There we go. And then we're going to hit Control-Shift that, and then delete, and now they're all lined up. Yay! And we're going to do that same thing right there. There we go. Okay, cool. Now we need to, oh, I forgot to do one more thing. We're going to hold Alt-Shift like that, Control like that. That's not what I meant to do. Let's try it again a little bit less enthusiastically. There we go. And then we'll put a comma on the end of everything, and then we'll remove that last comma because it likes to not have that last comma. Let's go and delete all of this since all these comments are also up here and everything is already defined. Just hit delete right there so we can just get rid of those extra lines I do not need. And we're going to go ahead and tab this back so it looks a little bit more lined up with the arrays here. Okay, cool. So that's another big fix that I should have done last week, and I didn't think of it because I wasn't smart enough to think of it at the time. Don't worry about it. It happens. Here's another one right here. This is a little silly to write like this, where it's greater than 2, and then this is equivalent to 2, so you can see some weird confusion overlap here. Instead, I'm going to rewrite this where I have this check at for the equivalency right here. This being greater than 2 and this being equivalent to 2, I'm just going to make greater than or equal to 3. So that'll make it a lot easier for people to parse out. And this I less than 8, and then this I greater than 7, this would seem to overlap, but they don't actually. This is going to be less than or equal to 7, and then this is going to be greater than or equal to 8. So it's a little clearer what the actual intent is looking at this. And this is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and, the 16 is fine, but I'm going to go ahead and make it less than or equal to 15. So it's a little clearer that I mean there are 15 items in the array. I need to have special responses for all of them. And let's go ahead and change this up to identify it in exactly the same way. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, instead of less than, greater than, which is a little silly and a lot quite as readable as it could be. Anyway, and that's a little more readable. And so that is the last thing that I would change on here to make it a bit more readable, a lot easier for somebody in the future to actually parse out and read later. The numbers will be stored in binary and Little Endian as long as you use constexpr or pound define. I don't think constexpr exists in here. This is a mostly C compiler, so I don't think constexpr does. I could be wrong. The pound defined might end up being in Little Endian. I think these are in Little Endian. No, they might be in Big Endian. I don't remember. It's really weird. There's the formatting for this was definitely not what the standard is. So I don't know the compile for the game, but whatever. Can we skip PID? Like I want to assign PID equals 300, but I don't have PID equals 299. Would game crash? No, it won't crash. No. As you can see here, if we actually take a look up here at the PIDs that are listed, there's a big jump between 94 and 115. Look at that. So there's a bunch of PIDs that are not listed or maybe not defined. Maybe they are defined. They're just not defined here. They're just defined in another spot. So it doesn't matter if you just skip it. All the define does, let me be a little more explicit about it. All the define does is it says replace this text on the left with this text on the right. And as long as there's no spaces with the text on the left, which is literally just a word you're trying to come up with, no spaces in a word, and only certain symbols are allowed, then it will say, okay, the text on the left is one thing, that's where you're going to put it in the code, and then the text on the right is anything in parentheses here. There's more complications to it than that. There's like a whole parsing system to this if you're interested. but I'm not going to cover all the parsing system. In general, most of the time you're going to be using it in such a way that you will put a number inside parentheses, and there's a reason you would put it inside of parentheses, which has to do with order of operations. Not that important right now. If you want to take a look at macros and learn how macros work, there are examples such as what I was pointing to here. These are macros as well. You'll notice opening parentheses right there, closing parentheses at the end. Same thing for this one. Oddly, they didn't do that for this one, but it's not a big deal. So that's what you'll find is a lot of them have opening and closing parentheses around everything. So maybe give some logical background, like PID between 1 to 100 is for ammunitions, 1 to 200 medical items, such things like that maybe. If you would like, that is what they did here. If you scroll up to here, it says here's the weapons section, and these are all the weapons that are in the game, theoretically, because it's no guarantee that they're all here. And for some reason they put blow up dolls in here, so I don't know why that. But anyway, and then like here's the ammo section, so you can move around the PIDs however you want and organize them however you'd like, which is what I did over here for the array here. That's why I did it that way, so I could have specific replies here, and then specific replies for this group, and then a specific reply for this group. So I grouped them on purpose like that. And you can too. You are absolutely welcome to. And they have over here as well. The bottom line is what you want, regardless of how you choose to organize it, what you want is all the PIDs defined, if at all possible. All the PIDs defined so you can do stuff with them in the scripting language when you want to script something. Okay, was there one more thing? Yeah, nope, that was pretty much it. Those are all the fixes that I'm going to go ahead and do to this. This is still reasonably well done. I think. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Maybe it's not as clear as it could be. Oh, here's another space where I can actually add in a little it's less than or equal to 2 and greater than or equal to 8. And then I less than or equal to 15 here, so that we can make it a little clearer what I intended for it, right? So let me double check my logic on this one. It was less than 3, which means it's 2 or below, so there we go. Yeah, and it's greater than 7, which means it's 8 or above. Okay, cool. And it's less than 16, which means it's 15 or below. There we go. There we go. Make it a little clearer what I'm trying to do here, what the logic is. All right, there we are. Making defines where everything is a good idea in theory, but it's also incredibly time consuming, so a lot of people just don't bother. But having defines already defined set up, like in the ITEMPID.H, always an awesome idea. Recompile one more time, make sure the big things work, so we're going to go ahead and pop in just a couple here. Root beer. Oh, there's a regular beer, cool. Gamma Gold beer and moonshine, last two. Gamma Gold beer. Some crazy looking stuff, not ready for that. And then moonshine. That's moonshine, right? Yeah, moonshine. Good stuff, don't mind if I do. There we go. All right. That's as much checking as I'm going to do. That is how I will clean up the script, and that's how I'm going to leave it for the next set of low intelligence dialogues that I need to start putting in here. All right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I think I'm ready to actually continue on with the. I think I should do a commit at this point. Actually, is what I should do. Should do a commit at this point. So I'm probably going to just go ahead and go over here and review all the changes I made.